I think strategy is a dime a dozen. Your strategy is only as good as your ability to execute. So who cares how great your strategy is? The failures of our clients are our own as consultants. We have to drag our clients to glory. We call this the passenger problem. You are just riding shotgun in your own business. Leads show up when they show up. They're going to write the prescription and you have to fill it. You have to solve a specific problem for a specific person with a specific process. When you do that, you can generate leads yourself. It makes it easier for other people to refer you.
Hello, Nick. Thanks so much for joining me.
What's up, Christine? Good to see you.
So this episode is for solopreneurs, consultants, and service providers who think they're great at what they do, but you might be struggling with your expertise turning into revenue. Nick is someone who could definitely help you out with that. So Nick, you co-founded a 7-figure go-to-market firm. You've done a lot of things, but right now you're co-founder of Duo Consulting. And so I noticed you guys for the last few months love what you're putting out there with your podcast, How Solos Scale, podcast and newsletter. Check that out if you want really detailed information about what we talk about here today. And I just want to get some of the story straight from you because I think this is really relevant to everyone who might be in this position. So let's start a little bit. Why did you end up creating this partnership with Erica and move from what you were doing previously to start this new Duo Consulting? I'm curious about the backstory there.
Yeah, so I'm actually doing the same thing I've always done. And Erica and I met, I don't know, a couple years ago now. And we realized that all of our clients kind of ran into like two sides of the same problem. Like after people would be done working with me, we would create all these content problems for them, or the problems that content would solve. And they're like, they needed more support than I could provide. And then Erica was working with people and she realized that they would be way more successful if they had an offer kind of pre-designed going into her service, basically right after they were done working with me. And so we both saw this and we were like, hey, wouldn't it be easier if we just taught this as one thing? And so we business dated before we got business married, and we created a program called Full Stack Solopreneur. And that was like a group coaching program that basically took my curriculum and her curriculum, we smashed them together, and we ended up teaching about 100 people through that program. And it was really, really cool. But running a community is exhausting for a million reasons, but we met a lot of great people through it, and many of whom we still keep in touch with, which has been great, but it's exhausting. And so we realized, if this is like the done with you, or like kind of like the DIY version of this, there's a done for you version where it's more like, instead of like a one-on-one service, it's a two-on-one service where I do my thing, Erica does her thing, and we get people to where they want to go. And so we rolled that out last May. So it's been almost a year, and it's been a ton of fun.
Well, I'm really interested in the offer piece because I think that's something that even my clients struggle with. And so that's the part that you've sort of focused on. It does seem like the foundation. I mean, it relates to positioning and the deeper strategy stuff before you layer on the content and the go-to-market. So can you give me more, like maybe an example or something where you've kind of walked someone through the offer part before they need Erica's help? Because I really want to understand how that happens. And also, like, what's the hardest part? Because I think an offer is so core to what they deliver. So it seems like there'd be a lot of barriers there to actually getting it right.
So there's set up some mental scaffolding here. Everybody universally agrees that it's a lot easier to sell something that has guardrails up, that's prepackaged, right? So marketing and selling a custom service is generally much more difficult. It's too abstract to market. It's very complicated to sell. Now, granted, the ticket on it could be a lot higher. The absolute profit on it could be higher. But all the things that surround it are much harder. It's harder for people to refer prospect or buyers to you. It's harder for you to get people into your funnel. So we are very bullish on the idea of standardizing your services. So instead of a fully custom thing or a fully productized thing that's like really rigid and very packaged up, there's a sweet spot in the middle. We call it standardized. And so we help people standardize their services so that you can deliver the same experience over and over again, but you can still adapt to a client's like nuance and all their context. If you think like we can rearrange all of the blocks that build an offer or build a service for somebody, but the blocks never really change. So this is the concept. And then as far as the offer is concerned, what we do is there's like 3 main ingredients that we focus on. What problem do you solve? Who do you solve it for? And how do you solve it? That's it. It's actually that simple on purpose.
Yeah. And does this fit more with sort of high ticket services? Because some of the pushback I've heard when talking to either my own clients or people I speak with, they feel like they can't box what they do in, or they can't customize it, or they need that custom. Like, how do you walk through some of the objections that someone might feel like, okay, I think I understand the benefit, they might say, but then they feel like, oh no, but I can't standardize my offer.
I mean, we all have limiting beliefs no matter what type of success or we achieve or what type of business we run. But I think
Mhm.
anyone who says they just flat out can't do it is someone who just doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
We're not in the business of convincing the unwilling. Like, we're in the business of educating the motivated. So people who say
Yeah.
they can't do it, they just don't want to do it because they don't want to change the way that they're operating. And I don't know if that sounds like a cop out on our side, but it's just we don't try to convince anybody of anything. And so
Yeah.
I think the most important factor here is, like, how do you want to grow your business? And we ask this question to every entrepreneur we work with. How do you want to grow? Where do you want your leads to come from? If you're happy riding the referral roller coaster and leads show up when they show up, cool. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad at you. Plenty of people do that and they build great businesses and they're very happy. But if you want to, we call this the passenger problem. When you are just riding shotgun in your own business, and so leads show up when they show up, you service, you sell whatever it is that they need, because you can do a lot of things. So you sell a lot of things and there's very little overlap in the work that you do. There might be some like, oh, it relates to content marketing, but they're all very different things. This person gets web pages, this person gets emails, this person gets ebooks, and so on and so on. But it's all content. But so we never have the ability to like really make a massive impact with all of our clients, because it's always something different. Because when people come to you randomly, they don't necessarily know what you do. So they're going to write the prescription and you have to fill it. We believe that the most effective and fulfilling way to build a business is to flip that around. So you can take control over where your leads come from. But in order to do that, you have to do something. We say something very specific, right? Solve a specific problem for a specific person with a specific process. And when you do that, you can generate leads yourself. No, I'm not saying referral. It makes it easier for other people to refer you. So not only do network generated leads go up, but so do inbound generated leads.
I know that you tend to work with people who maybe are further along in their business. I would say, like, because you said you don't convince anyone. So I think maybe some of the things that for people earlier on, maybe they've just started in the first year. I think some of the things that I've heard, they feel it's like the classic marketing problem. You feel like if you narrow down, like you're gonna, I don't know, like you're not gonna have enough leads or something. Again, those are self-limiting beliefs. So is it like you kind of, when you're figuring out who you can help, you kind of target someone who's got a little bit more experience and who wants to solve this problem? Like, you don't need, they come pre-sold basically.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, today we sell to people who are further along in the process, but that wasn't always the case. I was selling to people
Yeah,
who
I'm
were
curious about how
pre-revenue.
you, yeah, like
I used to
how did you get there? Or like, yeah, well, how did you get to this place from where you were?
Yeah, I mean, I started selling to people who were like still at their job, wanting to quit their job. And I would sell to people who had few low ticket clients. Like you asked earlier, like, is this works for professional services, any B2B service.
Yeah.
This is what we focus on. We don't really like to do courses or cohorts or any of this sort of like touchless sale. We find the best leverage and the best outcomes are for people who are selling services, because you can take that really far with very few people, if not just yourself. But yeah, we started selling to people who, or I did before Eric and I joined up. I started selling to people who were very early on. And because I had to figure out my own system and figure out what worked and what didn't, how do we get people to the proper outcomes that they're looking for, so on and so on. And I went through probably 50 to 60 different variations and working with probably 50 to 60 different entrepreneurs through the process. And over time, as the process gets more standardized, the results become more reliable and more predictable. And then Eric and I joined, and then that's just gasoline on the fire. So now we can start the process from, start the content marketing process from day one instead of day, 180.
Yeah. So when you say offer, that includes several aspects of it. And so pricing is one of them. I'm curious, like when you work with people, how do you help them figure out pricing? Like whether they should be pricing, typically probably they should be pricing more, something a bit higher than they are. Like what does that process look like? And how do you objectively decide something like that? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm not a pricing expert by any means, but I've learned a lot about pricing from my friend Peter Giordano. He's the pricing guy, and I've learned a lot from him. But I will say this, is that You fit the buyer, not the price. So what we mean by that is you decide what you want to charge. We have clients that decide they want to charge $15,000 a month for a service. Well, you can't sell $15,000 a month to a solopreneur doing $10K a month, right? If that's the audience you have access to, this doesn't work. So if we want to charge $15K a month, we have to re-engineer the buyer and figure out who can afford that. Who do you have access to that can afford that? How are we going to get you there? And it's not like a light switch where one day you just decide and then you go and get that deal. I mean, maybe some people can do that, but I haven't seen very many people with the ability to do that. So access is a huge part, right? Do you have access to the people you're trying to sell? But as far as pricing is concerned, most people are leaving money on the table because they have a limiting belief about what the work is worth. So the easiest way to go about this is, we call this like outcomes-based pricing. We know the work generates some type of outcome for our buyers. It doesn't have to be a straight shot from, I do this and you make money. There are plenty of checkpoints in between, but we try to find a way to reverse engineer and try to price based on a percentage of the outcome created, not a percentage above or below what the next guy's charging, or a percentage above or below what I'm willing, the number that I can say with confidence. And that allows us to decide where we're going to land in a lot of ways, or like what this thing is truly worth. Now, there's a ton of nuance here, but a couple of things I think worth talking about.
Erica's not here for the nuance.
Erica's not, she would be like, but nuance.
Yeah.
Thank you, Erica, wherever you are being sick. So for pricing, we find that a lot of people they want to charge as much as humanly possible. And that's not necessarily a good thing either, though. There's a point where the price becomes so high, even if people are willing to pay it, the expectation is drastically different. So there's a sweet spot between, well, what can they afford? What is it worth? And what is the expectation of us? So there are some people that are charging, you charge $50K a month. Well, at $50K a month for a service, the expectation is very different than at $20K a month, or from $10K to $5K, just depending on who the buyer is and what it is, and all the context and nuance about what it is that you're doing. So I don't say just price as high as you possibly can. I think that there's plenty of people that say just like, hey, just keep raising the price until everybody says no. Yeah. But the problem with all of this is, what we see is that when we onboard clients, we do a client audit with them. And we look at all the clients that they've ever had, at least in the last 6 to 12 months. And we look at the outcomes that they've produced for their clients. And more often than not, they all say some variation of, the client didn't do X. We delivered the strategy, they didn't do something. So, and this is not a knock on people. So I want to be clear. It's like, this isn't like people lack certain skills. This isn't that people are no good at what they do, but the failures of our clients are our own as consultants. So if our clients are unsuccessful, that's on us, and we have to figure that out. I joke that we have to drag our clients to glory in a lot of ways.
I was going to ask you about that line. Please,
we have to drag
elaborate.
Our clients to glory. So here's what I'm referring to, though. When we do a client audit and they say the client didn't implement because they didn't have the team, even though they said they did. The client didn't implement because the CEO changed the strategy 6 times. The client didn't implement because blah, 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 blah. There's a million reasons why the client didn't implement, and you don't have a ton of clients radically successful in your wake. And so we have to re-engineer the service model to overcome all of that as fast as possible. Because when we don't have enough proof for case studies or testimonials from people, it's not that they don't have some of these things, but it's like they usually come to us and they say, I'm so done with this shit. They're so unfulfilled by the work because the clients aren't as successful as they think they should be. But we've all been told this great strategy lie, that strategy is the most valuable and important thing in the entire world. And I think strategy is a dime a dozen. I don't think strategy is the most important thing in the world. I think execution is. Your strategy is only as good as your ability to execute. So who cares how great your strategy is? I know 1,000 great strategists whose strategy goes to die in a Google Drive somewhere at some company's Google Drive. It just collects dust forever. And I'm like, well, what have you helped your clients achieve? And they go, I don't know. And this isn't a knock. Like, this is not a knock, but it's like one of the main things we have to do is introduce execution into the business model so that we can help their clients be as successful as possible. That's where your pricing power tends to come from. When they know the highest probability of success possible is coming from working with you one-on-one, not just you delivering some docs. Like, you're not McKinsey. Who cares? We want people to be successful with this stuff. If they wanted to buy stuff and not be successful, they'd go buy a book. They'd go buy a course and never take it. They're hiring you to help drag them to glory.
So, do you have something that you look for when you're seeing who you want to work with? Is there like something to know whether or not they're ready? Because you mentioned a lot of people that are maybe doing the strategy, but they're not doing the execution. Like, I guess, what are your criteria for deciding if someone's ready to?
It's more mindset than it is
Really, yeah.
and then anything.
Okay,
It's always mindset, right? Like there
Okay.
are plenty of people who are doing strategy or just execution or some combination. Like it's more mindset. It's like, am I willing to change? Do I want to make a change?
Yeah.
Am I willing to own this? A lot of times in the early days, we would write people's like a point of view documentation for them. So we'd help them frame up the problem that they're trying to solve and really try to give them a compelling narrative to take to market. And oftentimes those clients were not nearly as successful as the ones that just owned it themselves. And not that they wrote it, but like we tried to give them something in that way. And they must have a really compelling point of view already, and we have to shape it and polish it. That's really the indicator that someone's going to be radically successful, because if they don't internalize it and own that POV, we can't make you do that.
When you say POV, does that ties to everything, like the offer that they're delivering, basically the core of their service, how they're different?
How you see the world.
Is that what you mean by POV?
Yeah, how you see the world and why talking to you is compelling, and why when there's 1,000 content marketing strategists in this world, there are more content marketing strategists than there are companies that need content marketing at this point. There are so many. And the question is how do I know? How can I understand what I'm looking at? And when we look at different, like this is just an example because we work with a lot of content marketers, and I'm sure plenty of content marketers listen to this. It's like, how do I understand the difference between this one and that one without actually trying? Well, I know Christine has a point of view. Christine sees the world a certain way. That resonates with me. I understand that. And it's easy for me to not care what the billion other content marketing strategists are doing or saying, because what they say doesn't resonate with me. That is a byproduct of having a really strong point of view and being able to articulate your buyer's problems really, really well.
So would you say, like, in the past, maybe you worked with people who didn't have a point of view? Did you learn along the way that was something really important to be successful, like for your business and for other people's businesses?
Oh yeah. Well, we always knew, like, I always knew having the point of view was a part of this, about being really successful in this. But I didn't know that I couldn't hand you one. You'd have to already have a really strong point of view, and we have to shape the story and the narrative that is like the whole, like your talk track, right? When people think of Christine, or when people think of somebody, and you have an idea of what that person is all about, that entire thing, we can't give that to you. You have to have it, but we'll shape it up. And I tried to give people stuff. And what happens is, and we do a lot of call review with our clients. So it's like we see it manifest itself in broad daylight. Every time they get on a call, they say something different. And it's like, this is the hardest possible way to build a business, is to say something different.
You mean they say something different to you?
To
like
us,
they're not
consistent
consistent
or to their
with
clients,
the way that they...
or to their buyers, to like prospects.
Yeah.
Like there's a different story. Like we need to be able to stick to one point of view. So every time, if we press them, we get a different POV back. When buyers press them, they get a different POV back. And it's never the same. I explain this like it hasn't been internalized. Once you own it and it's yours, it's really easy to say the same thing in the same way every single time. But if you're saying something different every time, no one can recall you. No one can recall, what does this person believe? There's nothing to grab onto. There's nothing to this.
So one thing I've found working with clients is like sometimes they come and they have points of view, but maybe they aren't sure like what their one big idea is. And LinkedIn, or I guess there could be other channels, are there a way of like working that out in public? That's something I'm coming to believe is like, you come with some ideas, we like see, it's like you need this space and the feedback to like work those things out. Have you found that to be helpful? Or like, how do you land on something that ends up being their sort of main point of view?
So there's a few different things here. We treat LinkedIn like open mic night. I learned this concept from my friend Jay Akunzo, and I think it is a perfect way to describe the function and the utility of a place like LinkedIn. We go to LinkedIn and with an idea, and we're like, how do we determine if this is something? If there is something here, something interesting? Well, we put it out into the world on LinkedIn. Not that LinkedIn is the be all end all like litmus test for interesting ideas, but generally you can get a good pulse on what people think of this stuff when you put it out there. And so once we do, we'll get a signal back. And that signal determines where we go from there. So that, and if, I mean, here's a really basic example. I've been teaching this really silly idea to all my clients for like a year and a half called Elevate the Problem. And it was a lot of times when people would be doing a bunch of marketing, they'd be marketing the problem, but they get people who are way too early in their like business life cycle to be perfect fit clients. And so we went through this exercise called Elevate the Problem, and we figured out how do we re-swizzle this thing to attract more mature buyers with more money and all this stuff. And I've been teaching. I never wrote about it. I just thought it was just like, I don't know, I never considered it. And one day I decided I'll write about it. It was one of my most popular pieces of content ever. And I was like, wow, that people really like this idea. So we took that idea and we turned it into a podcast, and we explored the idea basically end to end. And we went into all the nooks and crannies of what it means to elevate the problem and how it shows up and how you can deploy it and all this stuff. And then we took that and we turned it into like a 9,000 word mini book. And so this is the process that we take our own clients through, which is basically saying like, well, part of it is like, there are all these different ideas that you have, and how do we sort through what's interesting and what's not? It's not always, you're not going to strike gold every time. You're not going to even strike gold on your first try. Probably not. We're going to probably get it wrong, or some variation of wrong, but they say you can't steer a stationary ship. So we have to at least start going and pick something, plant our flag in something. And then we start to course correct over time. Well, another simple example is I wrote a post like 2 years ago that explained what I thought were like the main components of building a business as a solopreneur. And 2 of the 3 things nobody said anything about. And one of the things was at the time I had called it like a standardized method. And I had got all these comments being like, offer. That's the thing I'm stuck on, this method thing. I'm stuck on this thing. And to me, I was like, this whole time I'm like beating this drum, like you got to niche down. And I had it wrong. I was wrong about all of it. Like, was it important? Yes. Did people need it? Yes. Were they willing to pay for it? Yes. But was it as compelling as the other part of this? No. So I re-swizzled it. I put the offer on the top and business explodes. So it's part of, this is the navigation part of the process of saying like the POV is right, but we have to restack and reorder all of this stuff so that to like the highest, the most compelling order possible. And sometimes that takes work. You got to throw reps at it.
So yeah, I love that idea of like putting reps in for whatever you're doing, because I think that sometimes people want to come out of the gate and like have everything figured out, but you need to like do it to figure it out. And I wanted to point to one thing. I know you're really kind of anti sort of impressions for impression's sake and going viral and all of that stuff. And like I don't know, are you anti parasocial content, or you're just, you think the cherry on the top? It's not necessary, right? So, but how do you then say, okay, you're still looking at the performance of a piece of content, but you're just not overly relying on numbers? I guess you're looking at a quality metric as well. You're not just looking at like impressions for impression's sake. So can you tell me how you reconcile those 2 things?
It's funny. Erica jokes to me all the time. She goes, you intentionally optimize for low impressions, like low engagement. And so it's funny that like other people tend to see that, I guess. Okay, how do I reconcile this? So I don't care about parasocial content, right? I care about content that makes people money. Parasocial content tends to attract more people who look like you. And here's the great conundrum that especially like solopreneurs and other service providers the problem they tend to run into. They will write all about their life and their struggles and all the things they're working through. I'm not mad about it, but then they also write about how they don't have any leads. Well, who relates with content about a struggling entrepreneur? Other struggling entrepreneurs. This isn't rocket science. And so I don't think parasocial content is particularly valuable in the content chain. I think that when people say, oh, well, they want to know, like, and trust you, I'm not mad about that. Like, we have some clients that say, well, look, I have like a sneaker hobby, or I'm a dad and I love being a dad and I want to write about and talk about being a dad. I'm not mad about that stuff. There's like a flavor of parasocial content that like is not going to attract bad fit or build an audience of poor quality leads. But I just prefer not to do it because I don't care that much. Like I don't share stuff for the sake of sharing. Like I share stuff because I'm here to build a business like everybody else. I don't want to be a cartoon character on the internet. Like that's just not what I want to do. Erica loves sharing parasocial stuff and I'm not mad about it. Like it doesn't bother me.
If you're looking at discovery as a challenge that many businesses are facing, do you think there's a place for aiming for reach? Like when you have a
No,
portfolio of content, let's say, no.
I
So you
don't.
don't think reach is important? Okay.
Let's caveat this. There's like dear nuance. Okay, so I don't think there's a place personally, and we wrote a whole mini book about this called the Recognition Engine and where parasocial content fits into the play. It is a nice to have. So here's what happens though. Because we work with entrepreneurs that have 100,000 followers on LinkedIn, and it's not 100,000 of every single person they want to sell to, right? Whereas like I have 5,000 followers on LinkedIn, and it's fairly targeted. It's almost exactly the people I want to sell to. Which one's more valuable? Well, if you want to sell sponsored content, the 100,000 follower list is pretty good. If you want to sell B2B services, I think the 5,000 follower list is doing pretty great, pretty well. But here's the point. We want to attract people who have the problem we solve. When you post about your life and all the problems that you're facing, you're going to attract more people who look like you and not the people you want to sell to. This is why when you look around, there are a lot of consultants and other solopreneurs that start out selling whatever service to whatever tech company probably. We work with a lot of former tech operators, but they'll sell their service to tech companies. And then like 6 months to a year in, you all of a sudden see them, they started a cohort for solopreneurs, or they made a course for solopreneurs, or they have this, whatever the thing is. And the reason this happens is because there was this like huge demand. People are DMing me and all this stuff. It's like, well, yeah, because you write about the struggles that you have growing a business of one. So you're going to attract people like that and not CEOs of tech companies. This isn't a mystery. So it's my opinion that if you want to attract buyers who need what you have, don't deviate. Market the problem you solve. Market the process you use to solve that problem, and market the proof that you can actually solve it. It's really simple.
I love that. So you haven't, the MP3, you listeners out there haven't heard of it, go check out their content on that. There's lots of information. I think that's really, it's brilliant to have put it in that MP3, I'm old enough to remember what those actually were. Market the problem, process, and proof. Okay, so like to me, I still see that as sort of like a tofu, mofu, bofu type of thing. Like proof is like social proof. It's like ready, they're ready to buy. So market the problem, I think, is really interesting. And I think, would you say you would encourage people to spend more time there? Because like in my mind, that's still the part that would maybe attract more people.
Absolutely.
In the portfolio of content that you do. So I don't know, I'm just guessing like 70% of your content would be market the problem or something. Can you give me an example where it's worked really well for either a client or maybe yourself, like what that looks like, that mix of content?
Yeah, I mean, depends on where you are in what you need. So in that moment, so if we need to open up, we need net new people, we're going to market the problem all day. I'm going to market the problem exclusively. Erica will disagree with that. That's fine. She's our content person. So like she's going to ultimately call the shots in terms of like how the mix of content like our clients get and the mix of content we put out. But I'm of the mindset that marketing the problem opens up the funnel to all the people who need what you have. So if we don't have enough people, this is where we start. If we have people and they're new, we market the process, right? We need to start sharing frameworks and the thinking. We need people to go, oh, wow, this person actually kind of has some interesting ideas. And then if we need inbounds, if we need actual leads, we need meetings on the calendar, we market the proof. The use cases are very simple. And yes, I agree with you, right? We've rebuilt the funnel in a way that I think is a lot more practical. There's awareness, consideration, like all that stuff. I think we've rebuilt it in a way that's just way more practical. We've applied a different lens to it so that it's way easier for people to think, okay, well, what is awareness content? Well, why don't we just market the problem? Why don't we just talk about the problem more?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And we have found it to be radically successful for ourselves, for all of our clients. And we get DMs from people every single day, people who either read the mini book or people who apply the framework to themselves. And they're like, this shit works. Like they're like blown away by how effective the thinking is because it doesn't over-engineer content. Content has been totally blown out of it's been so over-engineered and it's absurd and it's not necessary. I mean, if you're selling a B2B service, like if you're a tech company, I don't know. I've never built a tech company. I've never tried to market a tech company. So I have no idea. But if you're selling a B2B service of any type, this is it. Don't overthink it. And it starts with marketing the product.
I don't know if this is your line, but like I noticed, because you use it again and again, you talk about this $20,000 for your own customers, helping people scale from 20,000 to 50,000, or you use those numbers. Like, how did you? So this is you marketing the problem to the people you want to attract, just in looking at the line on one of your LinkedIn. So how did you come up with, or how did you realize that, like, I guess it was just in talking to enough people, you realized that there was this sort of pattern of people hitting a certain number, hitting a bunch of chaos, not having a standardized offer? Is that what the process might have looked like?
Yes, so there's two things to consider here. One is what I alluded to before, right? Fit the buyer, not the price. So we knew what we needed to charge in order to make our business work, right? For the two of us. And we knew that there was also like a certain level of income in the business and margin in the business needs to be there. And so if you were earning less than 20K, it is not financially possible for people to afford the service. So we kind of fit that initially. The other element of this is that we've noticed that there's basically a couple, what we call the revenue wall. People are going to hit walls either at 20K or they're going to hit it at 50K. And the only difference between someone who hits the wall at 50K compared to 20 is that they were willing to kick the can down the road. They bleed into their personal life. They push a little bit harder. They're willing to give up certain things that the person who just goes, oh, I've seemed to have hit the wall here at 20K, and they just go, I guess this is where it is. And that's not saying anyone's better or worse than anybody else. Like, we have clients that love working. They don't have kids. So they're like, I'm just going to work as much as I want. Hey, God bless them. Work as much as you want. I have nothing, like, please do. And they can kick the can down the road. And then we have clients that are like, I just don't want to do it. Like, I value other things and more than money at this stage of my life, and I would prefer not try to climb the wall here. So we call this point the revenue wall, and it's basically where it's like you've gone as far as you can and you need something. We generally have a system like this concept of standardize, delegate, automate. And that's kind of the order at which we help people work through these problems. So we'll standardize everything from your offer, your sales process, your marketing mix. We'll start to delegate all the tasks and activities that you should no longer need or want to manage. And we'll start to automate all the process-driven tasks inside your business. But usually that becomes a thing for people around that between 20-ish and 50-ish K, depending on like the mix and how far you're willing.
And so you've also touched on how important it is to have like a vision, or I guess have boundaries is that like maybe one of the most important things that sort of defines the business that you're building and what you're willing to, I guess the type of growth that you're willing to drive?
Absolutely. Vision is one thing that I think our generation of entrepreneurs tend to lack, or at least business, like a service.
Do you mean our generation as in like age, or like
I guess this class, like I think age and class of entrepreneurs, like if you think like there's the old guard of people who have built businesses and they're just going along and they're not really like and then there's the people who are starting and running businesses within the last 5-ish years, post-COVID era, and they're starting businesses up until now, maybe the next few years. We all lack vision. Nobody's really thinking, I am building this business to create some sort of change in the world or to create some sort of change in my life. They're doing it primarily, and this is not a bad thing, but I think it's my observation. So they're doing it for some sort of freedom. We're all in it for some sort of freedom. And we want to escape the W-2 life. We realize that you can earn a lot more money and it's actually safer to work for yourself than it is to work for somebody else, right? People think it's safe to have a job and be on a salary. It's my belief that is not the safer way to go. Like, you're not in control. I would much prefer to drive on that situation.
If you've lived the last 5 years of like tech layoffs, I think, I tend to agree with you. I think it's in your own hands, at least, if you have a business.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's a million reasons why I believe that being an entrepreneur is a safer, quote unquote, safer way to earn a living. But so people just kind of do it. And I was guilty of that. I got laid off and I go, well, I have a baby. My wife works for that baby. Like, I have a house. Like, I don't have the luxury. We have some runway, but I don't have the luxury of like waiting around. And I don't want to try to convince somebody that I know more about marketing than somebody else. So I'm going to just start this thing and see if I can make it work. And I think a lot of people are in that situation. I think most people are in that situation. And then they look up and they go, holy shit, I built something interesting. This thing is making a ton of cash, or it's supporting my life. And this is great. And I'm really, really happy. And then you say, well, what are your goals? And then you go, well, I'm going to the end of the week. And you go, oh, what do you want? I don't know. And that's to say,
can you share, I was going to say, like, can you share your vision, I guess, to give a more concrete example of like, you kind of went through at the beginning and then you actually put something more concrete together? Because I think you're right. A lot of people don't have this, but what does having a vision look like for someone like you? Like, what did you?
Well,
create.
let's be. There's no prescription for what a vision
I know
looks
that. I
like.
just
No,
want
I
to
know,
give an
and I think the
example
context is
so that people
important.
can,
I think the context is important because it's like there's no prescription for what a good vision looks like, and there's no formula to creating one, right? I think a lot of it is just understanding that we're here for something bigger than ourselves, right? To have more expansive thoughts. Like one of my coaches said to me, he's like, well, like he's like, what do you want out of this business? And I was like, well, if it could make this much, he's like, well, that's really cool. Like, do you want to run it forever, or do you want to like bring in other people and you own it instead of run it? And I had never even considered that thought. And I think it's an important thing, which is like to have a more expansive view about what's possible. Most people never consider getting out of the work. That's a simple example. So the question is like, well, what, like, how do you decide, or what could your vision for your business be? I mean, it could be literally like, I want to work. My vision for it is that I get to work a couple hours a day and spend most of my day with my kids and my family and hanging out and doing whatever the hell I want. I want total location freedom. I want to just up and go somewhere whenever I want. I want total lead source freedom. I want to just know that I can generate leads in a variety of different ways, which we've like, and these are just different freedoms that we help people optimize for so that you can then achieve whatever vision, or you can be on the way to whatever vision you want. Some people want to build a full-blown micro agency, and they're like, I want to do 5 million a year with 5 people. And that's the vision for this business, that there's 5 people and I no longer operate. I own it. It becomes cash flow to me. Or some people have more aspirational types of visions where they're like, hey, I want to change an entire industry. I want to change the way that people view demand generation. I want to change the way that people think about content marketing, or how to make money being a writer on the internet. There's no prescription. And your vision can change. Here's the other things that people get, I think, turned around on, like, oh, like they have this 10-year vision. I mean, sure, cool. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think it's like, hey, what fits your life right now? My kids are young. I have a 3.5-year-old, a 1.5-year-old, and one on the way. To me, like my vision right now, next 6 months, 2 years, so it's like be a present and engaged father. That's the plan, as much as possible. And to go 5 years, like I don't know what 5 years will bring, but I think that like I want this business will be here. 10 years, the business will be here. I don't know what it will look like exactly, but I don't want, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like it can change over time,
Yeah.
and that's okay. There's nothing rigid about any of this.
I mean, I love that because it's like the vision has to sort of set the, I guess it sets the strategy in like the deeper way. Like why are you doing all this? Why are you coming to work? I mean, you're doing it for money, but there's got to be something more,
Decision
because
making
that
becomes
also
easier.
leads to all the decisions. Yes, exactly. But I can see how, especially if you don't have a standardized offer, kind of all these things are connected. The kind of, if you don't have all these things, it's easy to let things bleed into your personal life or whatever. I mean, I mean, right now I'm having this podcast at 11 at night, and I am a mom with a young kid, and so I do make things work, but it's like, where are the boundaries? And I think having those boundaries, or at least knowing you're in yourself, like what you're willing to do and why you're doing it, is so important as you're building something, because it can get out of control, I imagine.
Oh my God, yes. Like here's
Yeah.
like it helps me. Decision making is the hardest part about this work, because a lot of people overthink stuff. They don't trust their intuition. They don't know if you don't know where you're going or what you're trying to build for or optimize for, decision making gets wrong. Should we take on this client? Should we hire this coach? Should we do this thing? Should we write this book? Should we publish? Like, what should we do? Should we post to LinkedIn? Should we start a YouTube channel? If you don't know where you're trying to go, even for right now, the decision making, like the analysis paralysis is real. And so we help our clients optimize for what we believe are the 15 entrepreneurial freedoms. And it becomes very obvious after this assessment. We help people take this assessment. It becomes very obvious where we need to apply a little bit of pressure. And once we start to make moves in some of these areas, it goes up. It's very easy for me to know what I'm supposed to do now, because I know, one, I know where to focus. And two, I know if I optimize here, I'm going to be one step closer to the thing that I want. The thing that's been holding me back, whether it's lead sources, or whether it's pipeline, or whether it's my ability to grow, or creative freedom, whatever the thing might be.
I thought that there were 15 freedoms. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to go. Can I Google that? Do you have that in one of your is it in one of the newsletters? Or?
It is not in. No, this has not been published yet. This is something that it's cool. No, it's cool. We could talk about them.
No,
we can talk about them, but
I just hadn't thought 15 freedoms. Like, I just thought like time, money. Like,
I mean, those are certainly
maybe
part of it, but I think that there's a ton that overlap, and some help. We've categorized them in a way that I think it's like, as one lifts, they all tend to lift, but they're very specific in what they are. But we haven't published anything about this yet because this is something that we work with clients on specifically, and it's like part of our mapping and ongoing like remapping process to get them to where they're trying to go. I think we will publish something about it in the coming months, but it's fairly new to our IP, so there's nothing out there yet. But I'm happy to talk about it. But I think this idea of just even naming them and pointing at them and saying, okay, this is exactly what we're going for now. We understand, we can see it all laid out right in front of us. Let's take action on one.
That, I was going to ask on that note, because you mentioned IP, and that is something that you guys, I mean, you have a really strong point of view, but they've also said like you encourage people to sort of share their sauce. I don't know what the words you use, but like, you know, share your thinking in public. Do you have a line for your business, like of sort of the special sauce you don't share, but because you are sharing quite a lot of your process to the world? Like, is there a line?
Nope.
I guess
There's no line. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. There's no line. It's all, we give it all away. We believe in this concept that we call the probability of success. And it's very simple. People hire you to increase their probability of being successful with the information, not for access to it or the organization of it. So think about it this way. A book on a topic costs $10 or $20. Your probability of success with that information after reading that book is basically zero. Nobody takes action on reading a book. Very few people can do that, can read a book and go, wow, I'm going to make a massive change in my life and see immense amounts of success. It's not saying that books aren't important or books aren't valuable, but reading a book doesn't really get you there. A course is a little bit more than a book. It might be $100 for a course or a couple $100 for a course. Your probability of success, if you actually take the thing, goes up a little bit. So therefore the price goes up a little bit. Same thing with a cohort in a community. And the more you spend, the more access you get to the person, the higher the probability of success gets. It's never like when you buy one-to-one or a straight consulting or private service from somebody, you are as close to guaranteed as you can possibly get. And so that's why it costs the most. So the question that we ask ourselves is, well, how would we get somebody to want to work with us? Like, people can't do anything with the information. We know this is true. This is why this is all the whole book thing, right? Like, books are cool. People read them, but they don't do anything with it. So for us to hoard that information doesn't help us, doesn't help anybody else. We want people to read that and go, wow, this is really interesting. And it also seems like it's really difficult. We could just hire them and they would do it. Right. So that's the idea. That's why there is no boundary in terms of all the IP and the things that we learn and the things that we share and do for people, because it doesn't change the equation. If anything, it makes it easier for people to want to work with us because they know exactly what they're going to get.
Yeah. And like, people that come to speak with you, they're basically pre-sold. Let's say the good leads. And so, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. But I think people I work with, sometimes they're afraid of giving away too much. But I think that is, maybe that's an older way of thinking about it. I don't know.
I mean, ask them. This is how we do. We ask them. It's like, well, when somebody overshares information, if you read something online, you go, wow, like this person gave away their sauce. Do you like go run and make $1 million with it? Like, no, you don't. You don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Right. Information hoarding is a huge problem right now. Our friend Brendan Hufford calls this the engagement ransom, where people will say comment prompts for my prompts that made me $10 million in a week. And it's like, well, no, that didn't happen. But like everyone comments prompts because all they want to do is hoard all the information. This is why you see all these people with libraries full of books behind them. And I have plenty of books behind me too. Like everyone's got books,
yes.
Right? But it's not the indicator. Like access to the information exists. If they don't get it from you, they're going to get it from someone. Chatty G can just spit out a content marketing strategy for you. We have totally democratized access, and that's a good thing. But if you want people to care about how you see the world and how you think, you have to show them. You can't just say, trust me, bro. You have to show them.
Instead of tell.
Yeah, you have to just show them. I don't see anything wrong with that. And it served our business well. And it serves all of our clients well. They don't hide. We don't encourage anyone to like hide or safeguard anything. There's no information out there, because if they don't get it from you, they're going to get it from somebody else. Yeah.
Well, Nick, I've learned tons from you. I've got a few really quick questions to end this with. And if people want to learn more about the things we talked about, the MP3 framework, a lot of the different things that we touched on, check out the How Solos Scale newsletter and podcast. You can get lots of information there. So I'm going to end with a few fun questions. What do you think is the worst LinkedIn advice?
Oh gosh, post parasocial content. Something people say.
Post yourself. Selfies work. I don't know. Okay, I like a good selfie for a visual hook.
Yeah, I mean, people do just stop, but I always algorithm eats first. You just got to add a picture. Okay, what's the worst LinkedIn advice? I don't know,
Worst
just
advice,
post.
yeah.
It seems to be pretty
Just
dumb advice.
post.
People just like, just get started.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just get started is fine, but like, I think it's a little myopic. Just post.
Okay.
Just post something. I don't know. Cold DM people. There's tons of bad LinkedIn. But 99% of LinkedIn advice is bad. All of it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and also I feel like people on LinkedIn just talk to each other. Like it's very
it's
like
echo
the
chamber.
people on LinkedIn, yeah, echo chamber for sure. What's your coffee order?
Oh my gosh, cortado.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah.
So fill in the blank. Most solopreneurs would make more money if they just
Market the problem.
What's your best purchase under $100, let's say in the last year?
Okay. I bought an iPad. My kids FaceTime my parents a couple nights a week, and just because they don't live close enough to see them that often, so we bought this, like, I don't know, it's like just this iPad little arm thing. It looks like the little arm from like the Pixar lamp, and it's the best thing because they can like carry my parents around with them and show them all their toys, and they can like.
Okay, you need to send me that because my parents are in Ohio and I'm in Taiwan. So like obviously my
Yeah.
son would love, we do FaceTime.
Yeah.
But it's much easier than a phone, right? Because it's a bigger.
Yeah,
screen.
yeah, this iPad. So the
So,
stand though,
with
but the stand, like the way the
stand,
stand works is like it has all these different bases and it articulates in a way, and like they do the faces, like you can do like the memojis, and like my kids like love putting like the chicken face on and talking,
Yeah.
or like pretending to be a robot and talking to my mom. And so the stand has been like, because we used to just use like the little folio case and it would like slump over or fall over. It just was like such a pain. So I don't know, it was like under $100, and I'm telling you, it just like it was a game changer. I have no idea.
Game changer.
It was a game changer, and it's so simple.
An actual game changer.
It was an actual game changer. It's like something so simple.
I love it.
But it just.
Okay, you'll have to give me the link because I'm curious.
Yeah, it's remarkably simple. I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. So last question, if you weren't doing this, if you weren't doing duo consulting, what would you be doing?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. I'd probably be
hanging out with your kids?
Yeah, I'd probably just be hanging out with my kids. I'd be working at some marketing agency somewhere, probably just hanging with them. I don't know. I haven't thought too much about what that would be, but I'd probably, I don't know, we'd buy a bunch of land and start farming something.
Yeah. Well, come to Taiwan. It's also a good place to, I don't know, not to farm necessarily, but
to chill out.
If you were retired, if you were wanted to chill out or climb 101.
That's true. Yeah. Brave. Just free solo skyscraper, right?
Well, thank you so much for your time, Nick. Yes, I'll link all the links below, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks.